This is 142.2, The Kingdom.
And once again, the Lombardi Trophy has a red and gold reflection. You can doubt the Chiefs. You can dislike the Chiefs. You can disrespect the Chiefs. You're gonna have to deal with the Kansas City Chiefs.
What is up, everyone? Welcome to another episode of 142.2 The Kingdom. I am your host, Dominic. We got Richard today. We might have the rest of the gang come in, but we're on to week 2 of training camp. A lot of interesting developments. But first, we got to tell you, thank you so much for watching us live via X at 142_2 The Kingdom, or on YouTube at youtube.com/142_2 The Kingdom. And if you're listening to us the next day, you'll probably listen to us on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. And we thank you for that. Subscribe, join the podcast, all good things. Right now, it's me and Richard after another week of Chiefs training camp. Do we have any initial thoughts, Richard, on what we've gotten down, what we've seen so far in training camp? Anything you're really excited about so far?
Well, it didn't take long for people to get sick of the heat, that's for sure. It definitely got hot up there, huh?
First day of training camp, of course. I mean, first day of pads was the hottest day of the year, and then today was pretty hot.
Today was
but
better,
it was,
at least, but it was also their kind of wind down day. It was a 10-10-10 day, so I'm not real like that's pretty light work for them. So that's not super surprising before an off day. So, but yeah, it only took 2 days, and we had people fighting each other.
dude. And you know what?
We'll get to that later.
Let's get started on training camp in general. Obviously, what everyone is reporting on, it's now on the major radio shows, on major television networks. Everyone is talking about just how good Josh Simmons looks at left tackle for the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, obviously, it's a little hyperbolic. Last year, Kingsley Suma-Ata'ia, who is now our left guard, was getting a lot of hype and praise last year in training camp. Maybe not to the level of what Josh Simmons is getting right now, but he was looking good in training camp. But I mean, you see some of these reps, and I'll pull up some very soon, but he's going one-on-one with some guys, and man, he's impressing. What are your initial thoughts on how Josh Simmons is just fitting into this Kansas City Chiefs team at left tackle?
So before I get to Josh Simmons, Kingsley looked solid starting out with his training camp. Josh Simmons looks very good starting out now that pads are on. He looks fluid. He looks like he is doing really well movement wise. He basically looks like a dancing bear out there, which looks impressive so far in pads. Hey, shout out to the ref for giving a pity flag to Ashton Gelati here. My boy got absolutely tossed out of the crib. That's hilarious. Poor guy did not deserve all that, but he looks very good so far. I like how he's passing off. He's passing off blocks. I like how he's getting to the second level on some run plays. He's gotten beaten a couple times so far. Chris Jones will do that to people, but I think he has acquitted himself pretty well so far, and we'll see how it keeps going across the rest of training camp. He did rotate initially with Jalen Moore until Jawad Taylor got back. Jalen Moore has now been to the right side, swapping with him consistently since he got back. So I think that's pretty much a tell of what's going to happen there. And I think when it comes to everywhere else, I think the offensive line at this point is pretty much solidified when it comes to the offensive line. Everywhere else, in terms of position battles, I would probably say the most interesting one I've heard so far is that Elijah Mitchell has actually gotten a lot more run in the receiving department recently. So that's a very nice development. Apparently, he has been the best pass blocking back so far since pads have come on. So that leads me to believe that if he's healthy, he's probably going to make the roster. We'll see how that develops because Brashard Smith is still kind of learning that pass blocking role. So we'll see what happens with that. But that was the other interesting thing that I have heard so far out of the first few days of padded practice.
Yeah, so far it's kind of the Josh Simmons show in a way, because I think that was the most important thing that everyone was worried about, especially based off of even, it's kind of funny how DG's the one kind of getting some flack on his opinion of Josh Simmons when he was drafted, but we were
Taylor,
all
man,
on,
I wasn't
all
super
on that
high on it
screen,
either.
and
So.
we were like, it just, we were looking for a little bit more flash, but I mean, you're seeing it now. You're seeing it every day. He's getting so many great reps. I'm about to pull up one which I think is good, but at the same time, if you're like, it's not the number one best clip I've seen of this, but this is Chris Jones versus Josh Simmons one-on-one. But at the same time, when I look at this clip, everyone's like, this looks great, but quick throw, kind of at half, I wouldn't say half speed, but
he probably so this is super nitpicky. If I'm the bag judge, I'm probably throwing a flag on that, just based on what I see here. But that's still a nice rep to get against Chris
DG
Jones.
double duty tonight.
What's up, DG?
Oh, it's good, fellas. It's good. It's good. It's good.
We're
Doing
talking
good,
about,
doing good.
your favorite player coming out of the draft.
My favorite player.
No, sorry. We'll get to Jalen Royals later, but we're starting with Josh Simmons.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, this is not a bad rep. I think this is good recognition of who is supposed to block who in terms of this. This is actually pretty good communication here from Kingsley as well to say, hey, this is who I got, this is who you've got. So I like that they diagnose here who's getting who on this pickup. Like I said, if I'm the back judge, I might be throwing a flag because he does kind of hold Chris Jones there. But other than that, I think it's a good rep to get, definitely.
Well, speaking of DG joining us, since DG, you were at training camp on Sunday, correct? When they first started pads.
Correct. Yes, sir. First day.
All right. So give us so I think the main person that we started the show with, the main person that everyone is talking about, whether it's us, whether it's radio, whether it's, TV, Ian Rappaport, Pat McAfee, all these guys are talking about Josh Simmons. When you were there at training camp in full pads for the first practice in the sweltering heat, what did you get from Josh Simmons and how he performed?
Yeah, the first thing I think I really picked up on was watching his feet, the way he moves his feet, how swift and quick, how much agility he has. It's easy to do that when you don't have on pads, or in shorts and shirts and stuff like that. It's easy to kind of show those things off, but I wanted to kind of see how it was when he took on physical contact as well. He had a couple reps against Charles Omenihu and Mike Dana and George Karlaftis, some of the better edge rushers on this team, that he stonewall guys. Like, he sets a good anchor. You can clearly tell that the technique is there. There's I don't think there's a lot they have to coach there, guys. Like, it's kind of eerie because we haven't had that feeling here in a while. We've been kind of, especially with our tackles these last couple of years, you've been kind of rotating guys. When Orlando Brown was here, you was kind of a guy that you were teaching him to go from right to left, and there's a little bit different mechanics. So I didn't see them having to talk to him too much. It just seemed like it came very naturally to him, which is a really good sign, especially with how young he still is. But you can clearly tell he's far ahead of where they probably want him to be at this point. And I think that's why they feel so confident in going into this season of thinking that he can be, the starting left tackle for this team. But yeah, the physicality, the agility, all the traits are there. Of course, still preseason and training camp, so you don't really fully know, how it's going to translate to when it's real full contact. But from what I see, man, if you can stonewall a guy like Charles Omenihu, which I'll tell you this, if you guys have ever seen Charles Omenihu in person, he's not a small guy at all. So
No, he's not.
you can stonewall a guy like that, man. I think that the sky's the limit for what Josh Simmons can do for this offense, and I fully think that Andy Reid and them are going to be willing to give him full responsibility and leaving him on an island over there by himself against some of the better edge rushers in this league.
So I'd say as a yes or no based on what you saw. I know it's only one practice in full pads. Did he look like the guy you saw on tape at Ohio State and San Diego State?
Yes, fully. Yes, for sure. That's like I said. The only thing I ever questioned was his health. As far as coming into the season or whatever. You hear people talk about the injury and how catastrophic that can be, especially for an offensive lineman. I mean, your knees and your legs and everything down, your lower extremities is your strength to this point. So those were the causes of concern that you had, heading into this training camp, especially into the off season, knowing can this guy get on the field and be healthy? And I think now you've seen that clearly he can be on the field and be healthy. And now that the tape that he put on at Ohio State and at San Diego State is fully showing to this point. So
yeah, we keep mentioning how we reacted on draft night, and I think we were uncertain, but at the same time, I think there was a lot of uncertainty with Trey Smith too when he was being drafted, and
yeah, for sure.
I think what our training staff has been able to, and our draft team has been able to figure out is evaluating players' physicals, seeing if it's unrealistic for them to make an impact immediately or if it's a project. And I think when he just kept falling down, and I mean, we even traded back and got an extra pick, and we still got the player that we obviously know that they wanted the whole time.
Yeah.
So it's just a credit to this. We say it all the time. It's a credit to the organization, their championship medal. They know what they're doing. A lot of people, I know a lot of us may have felt that it might have not been the coolest pick, but then you hear guys that really went to bat for him, like Chris Long and Jeff Schwartz, and now you see it on tape and you see it at training camp, and you're like, well, shit.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm not the best evaluator of football like these guys.
I always say, man, you're at the end of the day, I always have to think, even when I was crashing out about it, I had to think to myself, I'm not Brett Veach. I don't have Brett Veach's job. I don't have the experience that Brett Veach has and his staff has at evaluating talent. They obviously know more than I do, and all I have to do is trust that they know more than I do, but I do feel like it is a what's the word? It is a credit to the fans to be concerned as far as the health injury and the health of his of him being able to be out there on the field. And I think that that raises causes for concern. I think that's valid from fans, to be concerned about that. But at the same time, I mean, it's like we said when we watched his film and watched his tape or whatever, he showed what he can do. And I think a lot of teams, there are 31 other teams that are probably going to be pretty pissed this coming season that Josh Simmons, that the Chiefs went out and found a future left tackle, and now they, obviously have the line. I think that, they feel like they can compete and go and get another ring.
What's crazy is that, Will Campbell from LSU was the first tackle taken.
Mhm.
And now I bet
I haven't heard anything.
nothing.
About him.
Yeah.
I've heard nothing.
If Josh Simmons is that good, then
Which
the
is crazy.
Patriots passed on the best left tackle at 6th.
For the record, I think Will Campbell gets an All-Pro within his rookie contract, in my opinion. Like, that's full disclosure. But if Josh Simmons gets an All-Pro within the first 3 years, some people are gonna be very upset.
Yeah. And you can't discredit other teams for being concerned. Like I said, just as much as
100%.
fans, like for being concerned about his health, and can he be on the field? But you gotta. That's where Veach and them come in and they do their homework. I don't think there was for a second there they didn't go around the league and ask people like, how do you feel about Josh Simmons, or where is he at on your guys' boards and things of that nature, But it just goes to show that this organization has an outstanding medical staff. They do their homework. They know, the ins and outs, and obviously they trust their evaluations. So, more credit to them. Hopefully, like I said, it still has to translate to the field in real game time. So we'll see on that part. But so far, they're hitting the home run.
100%. And I think, and this was a graphic that was brought up by First Things First, and I'm going to pull it up here, is when we compare greats and when they get to the Super Bowl, sometimes you get the same guy the whole time, and sometimes you don't.
This is just,
and this is an insane stat. Now, granted, if Eric Fisher doesn't,
shout out to Matt Light, man. That what an absolute unit. 10 years straight of being somebody's left tackle. Shout out to Matt Light.
Yeah, Brady for majority of his career had, the same offensive line for a while. Those guys were pretty consistent and pretty consistently good for a long time. So, shout out to those guys for the model of consistency. But yeah, it hasn't been that same way for Patrick Mahomes, for sure.
And I think this is just such a testament just to Mahomes in general. Now, granted, like if Eric Fisher doesn't, it was an Achilles injury. Am I right about that against the Bills?
Yeah.
He didn't. If he doesn't, he has at least Eric Fisher for 2 years. But I mean, to have 5 different left tackles every time a different left tackle every time he gets to the Super Bowl, and you still end up winning a majority of those Super Bowls, I think it's a credit to him. And especially with last year when we rotated between 3 to 4 different guys, and we had to use Tooney as a last resort. It's like credit to Mahomes, credit to the Chiefs organization.
Who was also on those Super Bowl teams, by the way, just so we're clear. So
100%. But man, it's when I saw that graphic, I was like, damn, shit. So adding Josh Simmons, and if he pans out to be what we think he is and what everyone is hyping him up to be, I mean, could be Mahomes's left tackle for maybe the rest of his career, depending on how things go.
Yeah.
So
that's the hope.
That would be preferable.
We can't hype him up too much, otherwise it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
So
gotta wait for real game time. Preseason will show us a little bit more.
I need to see him going up against not the same 4 guys every day for weeks before I'm 100%. But he's off to a good start. So,
and as always, when you got a dog like that against another dog, sometimes it gets a little rough. This is footage of training camp yesterday. I loved this, by the way, but I'll play it for you guys. It is the play where Ashton Gilletti and Josh Simmons got into it, and Man, it was
Man,
honestly.
don't use it. No, Josh. See, that's a rookie mistake by Josh. You can't use the closed fist. That's how you get hurt. That's the most rookie thing he did right there on that rep.
Yeah, I loved every minute of the clip. I think it truly shows how much each guy really wants it. How much each guy has the passion for this game and what they're doing out there. This to me shows that guys are serious. And not out here to play around or be friends. This is competitive. Right now we're the only guys that we can hit at this point in time. So. In that heat,
Also, it's hot. Yeah,
it's hot, and
hot.
People
leaning on each other for like 3 hours. Like, yeah.
But I feel like if you're a coach, you're a leader on this team. This is what you want. You want guys to be passionate, to be physical. You don't want it to escalate to anything else. And I'm pretty sure those guys, after this, chopped it up and are all good after that. But it's just competitive fire. What better way to see that from a guy who's supposed to protect your franchise? So it goes from Josh's side of it. It showed me that nobody's touching 15 this year. Nobody's touching our running backs or anything like that without them knowing who I am first and foremost. And then the fight from Gelati as well, knowing I'm gonna take the fight to whatever offensive lineman I go up against. So loved it. Loved every minute.
I also like the reaction from the teammates after the scuffle was done. It's back to business.
Yeah.
I think that's the biggest thing because I feel like in a lot of other fight clips in training camp, you see that it becomes way bigger than it needs to be a lot of times.
Well, you see who
there was one at Dallas the other day that
you see who peeked in the back there. Watch it right at the end. You'll see it.
I find it funny that it was Travis who was helping break it up, considering last year he was fighting with everybody.
Look at Big Red. Look at Big Red. Come on.
He's like, what are we doing?
We're done. Let's move on.
Back to business, boys. We still got he's like, look, we all still got half an hour out here. Let's get back to work. Come on.
He let it go on for a little. I love me a little contact. Love me a little heated argument. He let it go on for a little bit. That's just Andy. I feel like letting the players be themselves, and, letting the players handle it. And then you see the leadership as far as Travis and Leo Chanel and Nick Bolton, those guys coming over and just kind of saying, hey, all right, come on, guys. Enough is enough.
Jerry Tillery, Chris Rolla Wallace even got in there. Was like, whoa, guys, let's break it up here.
Let's get back the ball.
That's and just seeing them like after the fight, obviously.
All right, next play. Let's go.
And just guys like Travis, guys like, all the defenders having the, Giletti's back, including Hicks and that's Christian Wallace. I'm guessing.
That's Chris Wallace.
So
it's your guys,
it's all business, man.
Yeah, you gotta have your teammates.
Tiller, the new guy, is getting in there, so and then all right, back to business. Next play.
Yeah, you kind of see. I think that's Kareem kind of talking to him, like, "Hey, calm down. You're good or whatever."
That's Jalen Moore there too.
Yeah.
So
continue to keep doing what you're doing. Them guys are gonna go at it. They've been Ashton and him been going at it all camp.
I kind of love it. I love that there's this little. I think between two rookies specifically.
I love every team needs at least a couple crash outs a little bit. So. I don't mind it being the rookies.
Pays dividends to have one as the left tackle for sure.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, that was a great sign in my opinion, especially after Richard showed me Ashton Giletti, after he showed us Ashton Giletti, and then he got drafted, and I looked at his tape, I was like, man, I'm really gonna love this type of player, and him
he
just
going.
Going after Josh from day one has been pretty awesome to see.
And they've been pretty deliberate about that too, because that's the side of he has been the right defensive end, which means he's going to be on the left tackles. So he's going to be on the blind side of most quarterbacks. So they need that type of energy and want too, and willingness to get in there and be physical and get to the quarterback. So
Yeah,
that's the kind of energy I need to see from that side of the defensive line this year.
100%. So DG, since you were there, obviously everyone's clamoring for the light show to be back, quote unquote. How was the offense looking when you were there on Sunday? Mahomes looking good. Obviously, a lot of talk has been about Kelsey and how, allegedly dropped 20 pounds, but he's obviously looking more spry, quick. What did you see from the offensive side and specifically the passing game?
Especially because everyone was there, because
Yeah.
we've had a couple injuries since then. But
Yeah. So mainly what I will say is there were some things that I felt like had to be kind of fixed up, and I know early on it's early on in camp, and people are still trying to get used to playing with each other, and we're all still trying to get used to kind of the playbook and what the direction we want to go. So there were some mistakes, there were some pre-snap procedures and things of that nature. Guys trying to get back into the flow of things. A little bit of sloppiness at first to kind of start off practice. And I think, I don't know if y'all saw, Pat kind of spoke to that too. They were a little bit sloppy to start off, but overall, man, the thing I noticed the most was the urgency of the whole practice, for real. Guys were moving, the leadership in there. Every time they switched the drill or something like that, you could literally hear. I was standing on top of the hill, and you could hear Pat saying, "Let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go, let's move, let's move, let's move." Like everybody's moving, and you could just sense the awareness of where they want to go with this season. You can clearly tell last season how they ended really bothered them. It really still bothers them to this day, and that's what I saw kind of the most out of it. But overall, I think the offense still moved the ball fairly well. The line looked great. I thought both tackles. That was actually Jawan Taylor's first day back at practice, and I thought he looked good in a lot of his reps as well too. I know a lot of people have given him a lot of flack over the years or whatever, but I thought he looked good for coming back from his injury and putting the pads back on. I think Jalen Moore is still trying to kind of figure his way to where they actually are going to want him to be. But I think it pays dividends for them to have a guy that can play multiple positions on this line. Maybe even play guard, maybe even play at left tackle or right tackle if needed be. I just think that they went into this season knowing that they don't want to be in the same position that they were in last year, and having to put arguably one of the best guards we've ever seen in this game at left tackle and trying to leave him on an island by himself. I just seen it was just a lot of urgency out there, a lot of real quick movement. I will say that Xavier Worthy was very, very impressive. He's faster than you could probably ever imagine in real life. The TV does no justice at all. He's especially his twitch off the line. Like I was watching the receiver and DB 101s, and there was not a DB, even Trent, that could put hands on him off the line. It was incredible to see how quick he actually really was, and you could tell the chemistry between him and Mahomes is really starting to grow. Of course, Rasheed and Pat, they're almost in each other's brains at this point. I really think their relationship is growing more towards the side of where Trav and Pat kind of are at this point. So Rasheed just kind of knows where to be and when to be there. And Brashard Smith, it was impressive as well too. He made a lot of plays out there, and they're going to be able to utilize him out of the backfield and receiving the ball as well too. But yeah, the offense looked good, especially towards the end of practice. They kind of picked it up or whatever. I think the refs, that was their first day there as well too. So I think that they were a little flag happy at some points, trying to work on some things as well. So But yeah, the overall the practice went great, and I thought guys really got after it.
Sweet. So speaking of rookies, Omar Norman Lott has been getting a lot of praise from guys like Charles Amenahue, from Chris Jones. I think he had a quote this weekend talking about Creed Humphrey, and he made a joke about him being a cinder block wall, and everyone was laughing. And he's like, "It's no joke. Like he's tough as
Yeah.
hell." When you saw Omar Norman Lott, I don't know if you paid much. There was a lot going on that day. So, did you see anything from Omar Norman Lott that you liked specifically, DG?
Yeah, toughness. He got hurt like maybe the second play of the 11-on-11s. I think somebody kind of stepped on his foot and he rolled his ankle. So he went to he had to go to the tent. So a lot of people were concerned. Especially when you have to walk over to the tent or whatever. But he limped over to the tent. They taped him up, and then I think he may have set out for like maybe 5 plays or something like that. And then he was right back in there with his helmet on and ready to go. And he didn't seem like he missed a step at all. You could clearly tell the ankle was kind of bother him, which I thought Andy and them would kind of give him the day off after that. But he obviously lobbied that he didn't want to leave the practice field that day, and he wanted to still be out there. So it just goes to show you that, how tough of a competitor he is as well, and what he wants to do, how much he wants to help this team win. So that's the one thing I took from him. I kind of already knew the skills that he has. I know he's going to be able to come in and help this team from a pass rush perspective, especially when you got arguably one of the greatest defensive tackles standing next to you. Your job should be relatively easy. Getting a lot of one-on-ones. But I know that eventually some of those one-on-ones are going to turn into double teams for him as well, because he's going to be very, very disruptive for the middle of this line.
Does he look like he's 315 now instead of 295?
Yes, he is. I'll just say this, man. Like, if you're a fan and you've never been to training camp, I know it's like, a lot of people say if you've never been to a game, go to a game. Of course, that's true. If you really want to see how big these guys really are, that training camp is your best bet to go and see like how massive some of these guys really are. Josh Simmons is a dude.
He's a big boy.
He's big. Omar Norman Lott is pretty big as well too. Seeing some of these guys up and close and personal, man, is an incredible sight to see. Chris Jones is a massive human being.
Yeah, he's also 315. He also plays at 315. So we have two 315 guys in the middle. So that's
and the crazy part is he makes Omar Norman Lott look normal.
That's crazy.
So he's Omar is definitely cracked up to what we've seen and saw in Tennessee at this point, especially with his size and things of that nature. So
that's good to hear, because I was a little bit concerned about if putting on what I'm assuming is about 20 pounds of muscle or losing some weight and putting on more muscle would affect his ability to disrupt inside, but it sounds like that has not happened to this point, outside of course, him tweaking his ankle early. But other than that's a good sign for me. So I'm definitely interested to see when he gets into actual game action how that looks. So
the quick twitch presence was still there. He was still getting off the ball, even with the injury. He was still getting off the ball pretty quickly. And you could clearly tell. I think Charles Amenahue had a quote today kind of talking about his hand usage. And you could clearly see that on the field as well. He was giving some of our guards some fits with being able how well he uses his hands and his hand fighting at this point. So I think he's truly going to be a pass rush specialist. I fully expect him to kind of replace that Turk Wharton role that Turk kind of left us with last year, and moving on to the Panthers. So that's the kind of role I think he'll probably foresee him taking on.
I love hand fighting specialists from the DT position, so that is music to my ears.
Yeah.
That he is giving guards that much trouble with his hand fighting, because that just means he'll be able to maximize his ability to disrupt pretty much from the get go. So that's very good to hear.
Yeah, him and Chris are
that is going to be so much fun to see starting week 1.
I think.
Do you think he starts week 1 if he keeps doing what he's doing and keeps showing really good things probably into preseason?
Yeah.
Do you think they start him next to Chris Jones week 1, or do you think they maybe keep with a Pennell or Tillery or someone like that who has more experience and probably knows the system a little bit better?
Yeah, I think early on, especially in early downs, you'll probably see a lot of more Pennell, just to hold and stop the run, be that kind of that force in the middle of that. But I think early on, you're probably, like I said, I think you're obviously going to see Omar Norman Lott be in that Turk Wharton kind of role on third and longs. You're going to see him come in and be able to help Chris Jones in the middle of that field, get some pressure from the interior. And I think I honestly think that if they are able to do that, it's going to help guys like Charles Omenihu and George Karlaftis and FAU and Action Gelati, all those guys on the edge, Mike Dana, all those guys on the edge, help them a lot more in their one-on-ones and being able to win. So if this team can spend a lot of time in the backfield and getting to the quarterback, we've seen how effective this defense can really be, and that's something that they really missed a lot of last year, and being able to get to the quarterback. Really didn't ramp up until Charles Omenihu kind of was inserted back into this lineup. So getting a full healthy year of Omenihu and Karlaftis and Norman Lott now in the mix, I think is going to prove dividends, especially when you get to second down or third and long as well.
Well, speaking of position battles, we can officially mark one position as taken care of for the roster. I am officially 1 for 1 on my roster predictions because Matt Ariza has officially won the punting battle. So his position is now 100% locked in for the season.
Yeah, shout out to
2 more spots to go.
Is it Eric?
Eddie, I do not know his last name. I don't remember how to pronounce it. Kabliski or something like that. Yeah.
Sorry, buddy.
Shout out to him. I agree. I agree with the report that he's the predictions that he's probably going to be punting this season in the NFL anyway. But it doesn't totally shock me that they decided to go with the guy who has already punted for them already. Yeah. If he's already shown that he's been the better punter, and with the receiver injuries recently that have kind of popped up, I'm not surprised that they just decided to go ahead and end that for the time being and just let Matt get all the reps so he can hopefully improve in his second year.
Yeah, and I think it kind of speaks to the situation, just kind of how they brought in Harrison Butker at that point in time. They had Cairo Santos, who was at that point in time I wouldn't say he was the greatest kicker in the world, but he was pretty solid.
Very solid.
Or whatever.
Very solid.
But that you could obviously get better at that position, and I think that's the reason why Brett Veach and them was willing to bring in a guy like Harrison Butker, and we've seen what Butker has been able to do, how much he's changed this team, and how many clutch moments that he's had for this team as well. I think for Ariza, it's just probably just competition. They just wanted to see maybe if they can bring in somebody else that can kind of push him, and then probably notice that Ariza's going to be ultimately the guy. I know people, a lot of people, critics out there didn't foresee him having the year that he had last year. But I think that this year, I think that's maybe one of probably the reasons why the Chiefs brought in another guy just to see, can we push this guy to play at his even a higher level, to play at his best. So, obviously he's been able to show them that in camp early on.
Heck yeah. Other battles that are very interesting right now, especially with all the injuries that have happened recently. Hollywood with his ankle. Xavier, as of today, is now in concussion protocol, which everyone's freaking out about, but honestly isn't that big of a deal so far. Jake Brittingstool is out with a hamstring. Sky Moore with a hamstring. I mean, it was kind of a light practice, but there's a lot of intrigue, and especially with the wide receiver area. I know our guy Richard is a big Elijah Badger man, but Tyquan Thornton is making some moves, and even good old wide receiver 6 Sky
Training
Moore.
camp All-Pro Tyquan Thornton, baby, for like the third year in a row. We are hearing that he is absolutely killing it in camp. So that's good for him. It's getting him jobs and getting him on rosters. So I can't hate. We can't hate from outside the room, but until I see it in preseason games and him actually stepping on the field and having production, man, I'm gonna keep it moving. That's fine. Good for him, but I am staying skeptical at this point in time when it comes to Tyquan Thornton.
Yeah, every year there's a training camp darling or somebody that all the Chiefs fans fall in love with and hopes and prays that he makes the team, and then he goes out there and he has about 2 catches for 15 yards. But yeah, man, I think Tyquan obviously has a role on this team. They were getting him a lot of reps at being one of the better gunners on this special teams this year. So I think that's a spot that they could really probably utilize him, which is ultimately gonna one of these guys at corner, man. Josh Williams. One of those guys at that spot, or their job is really on the line at this point. So they're gonna have to perform really well in this preseason. If they want to take that from Tyquan, but he also as well he's made some plays offensively as well and showed his speed. Still a very young guy. He's only 24, so still got a lot of football left in him to show. So hopefully, being here and being in the Chiefs organization can bring out the best in him.
Yeah, it's very interesting to see because I think at this point, the Sky Moore discussion is hard to convince fans to give him another chance. But it's not like he had a huge role last year and then he got injured. But I mean, it's interesting to see because I haven't really heard much about Elijah Badger since training camp started. It has been kind of a Tyquan Thornton love fest for sure. But Sky Moore's been getting in there too and making a case to keep him on. Obviously, everyone's talking about Rashee Rice and how it looks like he hasn't even missed a step. And, but the only reason that we're talking about, like we always talk about, it seems, the last 3 wide receivers is that somehow, some way, we're going to need it. Last year was with Hollywood. This year it's with Rashee. So, it's an interesting battle. I'm leaning towards Thornton, but it's because I haven't really heard much about Badger through training camp at all. So,
yeah, we'll see what happens. It's definitely I would say wide receiver 5 and 6 is definitely it's a battle. So if you're going to camp and you're looking for something intriguing to watch, I would say probably watch.
Yeah, that's probably about running back probably is a little bit interesting as well, simply because I've heard that Elijah Mitchell's done pretty well these past couple days with running routes, and he's apparently been the best pass blocking back at camp so far. So that leads me to believe he's probably still, as long as he stays healthy, he's going to be in the mix to be on the team. So I guess it'll be a matter of, do they keep all 4? Do they only keep 3? Does something happen? elsewhere on the roster that would facilitate that. We'll just have to see what happens in terms of if guy who doesn't make it, who does make it later on down the line, which we'll find out pretty soon because I think we are about a month from when rosters have to be at 53. I'll double check that, but I think the roster cut down day is pretty
It's usually after the
getting close.
third game.
I think it's after the third
Yeah.
preseason game, right?
Yeah, because they have that.
Yeah,
fourth
August
week.
27th, so it's less than a month away.
Exciting stuff. DG, when you were at training camp, was there a player that no one's really talked about that you're like, man, why is no one talking about how good this player is looking? Or do you think it's been pretty well reported about the guys that have really stood out?
I'll say it. I think a lot of people aren't talking enough about Kingsley at guard. I think that especially you're a lineman, like when I don't hear your name often or hear you messing up or things of that nature, I would say you're doing pretty well at this point. We talked to Jeff Allen obviously on the other episode tonight, and he was basically saying he's just got to get to that point of where he stops thinking like a tackle and starts thinking like a guard. And that's a tough transition early on when you're making that transition because there's so many things as a tackle you learn that you want to do when you move to guard and you can't do some of those similar things. So, but to see him, seamlessly make that transition and not be talked about like bad reps or anything like that, I think is a really good sign for him. And I think the sky's the limit for him right now. So him and Josh Simmons, obviously on that same side, they seem like they communicate pretty well. They had a rep against, I think it was Chris Jones and Omini, or no, it was Dana and Chris Jones, where they kind of you can see Josh Simmons kind of peeks inside to kind of help out with Chris Jones, and then passes him off, and officially picks up Mike Dana at the same time, and Kingsley held his own, anchored well. Obviously, as being Chris Jones, you would expect Chris Jones to win regardless, just because of how good he actually really is and him being an All-Pro. But Kingsley held his own ground, and I don't think enough people are talking enough about him at this point. So I would say that's the one guy that kind of really surprised me to a certain extent in this training camp for sure.
Yeah, I'm definitely a believer of the no news is good news when it comes to offensive linemen. Jalen Moore has apparently done pretty well for himself as well, despite the fact he's been moved. He's been at right tackle, he's been at left tackle, he's been at left guard so far during training camp. And he's worked with the ones, he's worked with the twos. So he's been working with a bunch of different guys, and apparently it's been going well so far. So that's also another good development.
I will say also Jason Brownlee has made some really great plays.
I have heard about that as well. Today apparently was pretty good too. So
him and Gardner Minshew have been cooking in the second team reps or whatever. So I would say that I think he's got a pretty good shot. I don't know if he actually makes the roster, but I think he's got a pretty good shot to be on the Chiefs practice squad this year.
I know on defense, Christopher Wallace has looked very good out of the slot. So that is definitely a good development for those looks where we want to move Trent outside, or have those multiple cornerback looks where we have a four cornerback look. So I do like the fact that he's looking better from the slot. Joshua Williams and Jalen Watson apparently have not been having a great week since pads have come on. So hopefully that cleans up. But otherwise, that's been the surprise for me is that Christian Wallace has looked really good out of the slot. So, hey Trizzy,
How we doing, man?
What's up, fellas? How we doing?
Good. We're just talking about training camp. We went over Josh Simmons, some training camp battles. Now we're just kind of DG was telling us players that that no one's really talking about that he's really impressed with, and he mentioned Kingsley Suma-Ataia at left guard. And then Richard was bringing up some players that he's heard some good things about recently.
you're going to training camp this weekend, aren't you? Aren't you, Trizzy?
Yes, I am.
Yeah, I'll be out there with you too.
So we'll get another firsthand look for next week to see how guys are looking. So that's good.
Yup, absolutely. What's up, fellas? How we doing? KC, what's going on? Chiefs Kingdom. Everybody tuned in. We appreciate it as always. Sorry
Is
I'm
there
late, guys. We getting ready for William Jewell camp in the morning.
No, you're okay, dude. Is there anything that you're going to be looking for specifically, Trizzy, when you're at training camp?
Um, I would just say, like, obviously it's easier for the guys to have a rhythm out there when they're playing and, we're going through the drills. But I just want to see Pat, just kind of building that chemistry with the guys. It's kind of like every year we have a new group or we have a new couple of guys. This year we can kind of build off of what we had a little bit because, I think the receiver room is a little bit more consistent. I'm interested to see, at this point, I think Taekwon is a lock. So I'm thinking, who's going to be the odd man out? So that's what I'm really looking for in that receiver room is Taekwon really going to push himself to, hey, like these guys are for sure, going to have that fifth, sixth spot on the roster. And if so, what does that look like for guys like Nico, guys like Scott Moore? Um, Obviously, everybody likes the Badger kid coming out of Florida, which we've seen him make a few plays as well. So I'm just kind of going to be paying attention to how the guys move and how that 5-6 room is spot is going to be looking as far as Twycon goes because he's been consistent. We constantly seeing clips of him just catching deep crossers, catching corner balls, getting comfortable with those deeper routes that Pat likes to throw, and he's a little bit taller than what we usually have out there. So, that's going to be exciting. Definitely going to be watching for that. And then just again, it's kind of hard to tell from training camp. Obviously, we haven't hit the season yet, but just the way the guys operate, it's always fun to watch the guys out there. They're showing their looks and they're providing help to each other. They're kind of sharpening each other at the same time. But it's going to be interesting just to see them kind of work the offense a little bit with a few new guys and a few new pieces that we'd like to get involved early. And that's including guys like Jalen Royals, guys like Brashad Smith. Obviously, we know what the vets bring to the table. We've seen Juju be consistent out there in training camp as well. So those are a couple of things I'm just going to be looking forward to going out there and just watching the guys live. And obviously, I think the defense is, for some reason, underrated to the rest of the NFL. But just to see those guys operate at a high level and, just to see that kind of championship pedigree is always fun to be around. So I'm excited to go watch it with the guys, of course. So I'll be looking forward to that. Can't hear you, Don.
Is there any player you're really excited to see when you go to training camp?
Yes, I want to the Josh Simmons hype. I want to see, if it's hype, does it look the same in person as it does, from my Twitter screen at home? So I'm gonna be excited to watch him. Definitely watch him move, watch him operate. And then as far as defensive, I haven't heard much out of the third round pick. Um, the fourth round pick from Cal. I'm gonna be keeping my eye on him because he's gonna be have the guy that we brought kind of in to rely on. Obviously, his role is gonna change now with Christian Fulton being on PUP. So if he's unable to play right now, and we have to have a third corner, which will either be between Joshua and him. I'm not loving Joshua out there as a third corner. I'm sorry, I've seen enough of that movie. It's time to get a different director out there. I'm tired of seeing that shit. No disrespect to Josh, love your kid, But yeah, I'm excited to see what he can bring out of Cal. You know, a guy that led the FBS in interceptions. Not an easy task. Obviously, it was overtime. You know, you're not always playing against Alabama's and Georgia's, right? But we've seen guys be transcended from that position from smaller schools. So I think the Chiefs seen a lot in them. I'm just hoping that pick kind of pays off because we kind of needed to, especially with the Christian Fulton news that dropped last week.
100%, 100%. So we went through a lot of what happened in training camp. Right now, it's a little up in the air with some of the players like Hollywood Brown with his ankle. Obviously, Xavier Worthy's on concussion protocol, but that's like a 2-week period. So I'm not terribly worried about it, especially when DG was telling us just how good he looked during training camp in general. I'm just really excited to see what you guys come out of it for this week and what you see in general. I know you're excited about Rashard Smith at a running back and how we've heard a lot of good things about Elijah Mitchell at the moment. So it's
Can I run something
Yeah.
by you guys real quick?
sure.
Just travel back to me in 2022 when we traded away Tyreek Wright, and they were questioning, who's going to catch the ball and who's going to be the guy. Well, there's some old man here by the name of Travis Kelsey who's been looking, a little light here to me. I'm just throwing that out there, just for the people to just pay attention to that.
Haircut.
Maybe that's what it is. Maybe that's what it is.
Haircut. Man. Went back to the buzz cut.
Yeah, that's the.
You also know he ain't cut this. He ain't cut the beard this year either.
Just saying, just something to point out. That's all. Nothing. Little teaser. We'll see how it go. We'll see how.
Well, we went up there on Sunday. He looked really good too. Travis moving.
Yeah.
Speaking of that, I thought what would be fun is if we looked at some, doing a little betting segment and looking at some of the futures and player props that the Chiefs have gotten out. Now, right now, currently, there hasn't been a lot that's dropped, but if you look on DraftKings and FanDuel, there are some props for you guys to bet on, especially with the players. Obviously, you got Travis Kelsey, you got Xavier Worthy. There's no Rashee Rice stuff, obviously, for good reason, because there is no sign of the suspension yet, but everyone thinks it's going to happen. But there are some that are very interesting to me. If you go on DraftKings, Travis Kelsey, the guy that we're talking about, his yardage over under on DraftKings is 700.5 at minus 114. And I think based off what we've seen the past couple of years, and even when he's had kind of a downslope, but looking at what he's been doing in training camp and his newfound attitude, I feel like that is a lock, at least, to get for easy money. I mean, minus 114 for just 701 yards.
But the kicker to that is this is the kicker for me.
Yep.
If Travis Kelsey has 700 yards, right? That means the offense is going exactly how we think it is, because that means Rashee Rice is getting the zone coverage. He's being that elite guy in zone like we know him to be. That means Xavier Worthy is finding his way downfield on jet sweeps, on receiver screens. He's getting over the top. He's winning those one-on-ones on the outside. And it also means that we're getting Hollywood involved. Those three guys have to be the guys. Not to say that I would not be mad if Travis Kelsey's having one of those legendary seasons. Let Travis Kelsey cook. He's been doing this, since I can remember. But a 700-yard season or more from Travis Kelsey means that this offense has, risen back to its efficiency, to getting those big plays down the field, being able to throw the ball over the top comfortably, and Pat being able to be comfortable with throwing that. So that's what that means to me. So I'm not mad at it.
Yeah, I've seen some lines that are really intriguing, in my opinion. I think FanDuel has Patrick Mahomes for minus 130 to throw 4,000 yards this year. I kind of think that's a little disrespectful. In a sense, if he has a full complement of his weapons, and if this line performs the way we hope for it to. So
I got a
for
couple that'll be really disrespect. That'll be easy money, I think, if he hits 4,000.
Oh,
So.
I got him on Prize Picks at 3,924 yards. I got the over on that. I think he's just gonna throw 4,000 this year. I also took Xavier Worthy for his yardage. They had him at 825. So I think, and then I think on FanDuel as well, Xavier Worthy is plus 115 to go over 1,000 yards. So I think that's something that may be worth some people to sprinkle some money on, especially with the Rashee Rice news and how early Xavier Worthy could be getting involved into this offense. I think that he can explode for it and have 1,000-yard season, especially if Pat is throwing for 1,000 yards, and if Travis Kelce is hitting his over as well too. I'm assuming that Pat is throwing for over 4,000 yards. So
Yeah, absolutely.
I feel like those are all good props.
Yeah, I found some interesting ones on FanDuel that if everything works the way we think it will, this should be easy money. They've got Xavier Worthy 8+ receiving touchdowns at plus 120. I think if he's, especially if Rashee Rice is out for 6 games, that's easy. That's free money in my opinion, especially if he's out for longer than 4 games. He should hit that. He should hit. I think he definitely
he gonna get 6
because he had 6 or 5 this past season.
I think he had 6 and then a couple of rushing.
Yeah, he had 6 and then 4 rushing touchdowns. So I think he could easily get 2 more receiving touchdowns over the course of the season. And man, these Patrick Mahomes touchdown props should be easy money if Xavier Worthy is cashing in on these. 35 plus at 270 and 40 plus at plus 750.
Wow.
Man, if he gets
over under was like 27 and
and over under was 27 and a half. Like, come on, man.
I'm gonna put some money on that.
Those should, like, I think you have to understand. If Travis Kelce's hitting his overs, if Xavier Worthy is hitting his overs, bare minimum, that should get him pretty close to half that as it is. So, and then
how many did he throw last year?
What's up?
How many did he throw last
year?
I think he threw 27 last year.
Yeah, he threw 27 last year. So
that is worst year.
Based on the new
that's a down year.
Yeah, based on the new people he has in this offense with Rashard Smith, Jalen Royals, Hollywood Brown all year, like, I think he can find 13 more touchdowns to hit that one. That would, and I also thought this one was really interesting as a team prop. Most regular season passing touchdowns at plus 1,100, I thought was really interesting because I think this is something that could happen this year if everything is clicking on all cylinders. If Brashard Smith is who we think he is as a receiving back, if Elijah Mitchell looks as good as people are saying he looks, add that into the passing attack, I think it could be completely possible that they could have the most regular season passing touchdowns as a team, even if we have to have Gardner Minshew in for a game because we've already locked up a playoff spot by week 18. So I thought that was another really interesting one that has some good potential to cash for some good money.
Yeah.
It's amazing how a majority of Mahomes' career, the betting props have been like, we expect that to happen, but you never know what might happen. But now, because of last year specifically, now it's gone so far down that it feels like if you're stealing money, if you're betting, to bet the over for Mahomes' yards and it's under 4,000 yards. I feel like that's highway robbery a little bit because that's all he's been doing. If he played that game last year against the Broncos at the end of the year, he would have easily gotten his 4,000 yards. Like, it's incredible. Another prop that I like, especially with the Rashee Rice suspension looming, I do like Marquise Brown's total receiving yards. On DraftKings, he's listed at 575.5 at minus 110. And I know last year he was injured a majority of the season. I feel like he would be, if he is playing effectively as wide receiver 2, if not wide receiver 3 at some points, and especially being wide receiver 2 or even wide receiver 1 at the beginning of the year, I feel like this could be an easy get, an easy money, especially since I felt like Hollywood kind of got the bad end of the stick last year, but another full year with the team, another training camp. I think this could be a really good year for Hollywood Brown.
I mean, he had 100 yards in only 2 games, and he missed the whole year. So, I could see him getting between 6 and 750 once everybody's back and everything's going to plan.
I think the guy who might make a little noise, they probably don't have no betting props on him, but just based on the training camp videos and the flow of the offense, it looks like Tyquan is gonna get some opportunities. Like, which is surprise. I ain't gonna say it's
So
surprising.
his longest reception prop is gonna be cash.
It's gonna be cash every single.
If he gets in for that one
His
play,
over under on receptions. His over under on receptions is gonna look great too.
Will be plus money for sure.
So Tyquan is another guy to look out for.
You're gonna have to wait till closer to the season for that though, because they're gonna wait until rosters lock to make sure that they kind of have to at that, which is why not a whole lot of props are out right now. I was taking a look down defensive rookie of the year props, and it's really funny to see that both Ashton Gelati and Omar Norman Ladd are plus 15,000, which is really funny because some of the guys that are down there at that level could easily have great years in their own right, which I thought was really funny.
A funny prop that I saw, and which you guys might find crazy, but when I looked at DraftKings for like sack totals and sack milestones, the lowest odds for someone to get 7 sacks was George Karlaftis at minus 350. He was the lowest odd edge rusher in that prop, and I was very surprised with that. I mean, obviously George has gotten 7 sacks each year, but I don't know. For the first name that popped up, it was kind of surprising.
Did that count postseason or just playoff or
just regular season?
Just regular season.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's for everyone doubting the Chiefs this year after the Super Bowl. I mean, it might be a great time.
I think this would be a great year to make some money.
To invest on yourself and
buy low, as they say, apparently, because Vegas is sure expecting you to.
Yeah. That's
Mahomes to win MVP is plus 700, and he's the 4th. He's the
that
4th
tracks.
odd.
Honestly, that tracks. I can understand why on that one, but
yeah. Because I think Joe Burrow is probably
he's 3rd,
betting close to being him, Josh Allen, and probably
Lamar and Josh are 1 and 2 at the moment.
Yeah.
I would expect Joe Burrow to be 3. So.
I would like to expect Joe Burrow to make the playoffs, but you never know what happens these days.
I mean, if they make it this year, then he's obviously in the MVP discussion.
1,000%.
Yeah, I think the Bengals win that division.
That's a good pick. Hey, and that might have some money on it too.
It probably does at this point. I didn't look at division props, but I wouldn't surprise me if
the
that's
Ravens
good.
have this like monster roster. I think they have issues on the defensive end, even with the addition of Malachi Starks. I don't, this ain't a Ravens segment, but I think that defense is going to struggle a little bit. So don't be surprised.
I think the Chiefs winning the division is minus 110, so that's probably the lowest it's been in a while.
Yeah, the Bengals are plus 260 to win the division.
Oh yeah, I would probably take that. Yeah,
and then
that's not bad to
one of my picks this year, and I'm gonna put it some money on it. I know a lot of people will probably laugh at me for this, but still, the Cowboys, the Dallas Football Cowboys,
Winning the division.
Oh no.
are plus 550 to win the NFC East.
I mean,
I'm probably a
look, there
degenerate.
hadn't been when was the last time there was a repeat winner in that division? So that doesn't surprise me.
I'm probably a degenerate, but I think
I
it's
think
worth
this
a
is the
sprinkle.
perfect time to remind you that these are not endorsements of betting. We here at 142.2 The Kingdom should always stress that you should only bet within your means, and if you feel you have a problem, please see the appropriate means to get help for yourself.
I'm a disgusting gambler, so I would definitely.
I mean,
be
I
dropping
think
my money.
I'm gonna put some. I'll tell you this. There's one prop that I think is gonna be wildly crazy, but they gave me some certain vibes last year. I think Panthers could sneak into the playoffs this year.
Yeah, it's probably plus money too.
Yeah, it's crazy, but
Hold
I
on,
like how the I like how the end of the season.
Let me rewind real quick and repeat my previous statement.
But
do not come back to us when your bets do not cash, please.
yeah, you don't have to bet what we bet. I mean, let us lose money for you.
Use your own mind for sure.
But we did get one question. We do now post. If you got any questions for us on the podcast, we'll answer them live. This is from Daily Chiefs, so shout out Daily Chiefs, by the way. Is Juwan Taylor at right tackle this season a done deal, or do you think Jalen Moore has a chance to steal the starting spot, specifically this season, not next season?
Nah, I think Jawan Taylor's a lock.
The only reason I say no is because of his because of his contract, and B, I don't think I think Jalen Moore is more valuable being able to play multiple positions than he would be shoehorning him into right tackle and then trying to figure out what we would do with Juwan Taylor, because historically Jalen Moore has moved around. He's played both left tackle spots. He knows how to play guard. So I think he's infinitely more valuable to this team if he's able to be versatile on the offensive line rather than just playing one position. So that's the main reason why I don't think Jalen Moore is a threat right now to take the right tackle spot.
Yeah, contracts 100%. Matter for sure. I don't foresee Jalen Moore stealing that position at this moment in time, unless maybe an injury happens to Juwan Taylor. So I just think the contract calls right now for Juwan Taylor to be your starter. I know a lot of people are kind of against that or whatever, especially what they've seen from his play or whatever, but it is, to me, it is what it is. You pay guys for a reason, and that's why Juwan Taylor was paid to be here, to be your starting right tackle. So I think you have to honor his contract at this point. Obviously, the Chiefs can get out of that contract in the next upcoming season. So I do believe that this is probably maybe Juwan Taylor. This last we seen Juwan Taylor in Kansas City, but I think it pays dividends for them. Like I said, I don't think they want to be in the same position that they were in last year with having to move Tooney, your best guard, to a tackle position or anything like that. So I think it pays dividends to have that security on the bench, something for catastrophic war to happen where you have a Jalen Moore that can step in and play for you.
100%. If Juwan Taylor gets injured at some point, I think it would be him, but I think you don't need to rush something like that, especially since you have Juwan on contract. And I think Jalen Moore, with a full year being in this offense and in this organization, and if we do let Juwan Taylor walk and get out of the contract, you have a guy that's been through the system the whole year, knows what kind of tackling technique that Mahomes likes, and it's an easy fit to fill in the hole. So I'm not terribly worried about it. And Juwan Taylor, he does get flags, but he's pretty solid otherwise. So
Agreed.
Yeah, agree.
Yeah.
But guys, I think that's it for tonight's episode. Obviously the Josh Simmons hype is crazy, but also exciting, and we got Trizzy and DG that's going to witness it firsthand this week, this next coming cycle at training camp.
I'll be actually up there for 2 days. I'll be up there Friday
shit.
and Saturday.
There we go. So they're going to be watching out for guys like Josh Simmons, like Omar Norman Lott. Hopefully we'll see some good news coming out about the wide receiver injuries at the moment. Maybe you'll see Travis Kelce even better than ever still. It's very exciting. We thank you guys, specifically DG and Trizzy, for going out and seeing firsthand what Chiefs are going to bring to the kingdom. Is there any last words you guys want to say before we sign off?
Nah, man. Like Rich said, bet responsibly.
Go buy that cheap stock, baby. They
Bet
sleeping on us.
responsibly. Hall of Fame game tomorrow, so football is almost
Back,
officially back.
baby. I don't
It's
care. I'm
almost
watching.
officially back.
I don't care if it was a mascot game. I'm watching that joint.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, we appreciate y'all tapping in as always. Make sure you like this. Make sure you share this with a friend. I challenge you guys to share this with a friend tonight. Maybe make sure that they're a Chiefs fan at least. We thank you guys for tuning in, and we're excited to finish up the year and continue to see what we can bring in training camp, and hopefully go into the year with good vibes as we start our first game in Brazil. So appreciate you guys as always, and make sure you give everybody a follow, baby.
All right, guys. Have a good night, and see you guys next week.